You are listening to Lovely Talks Heavy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lovely Talks Heavy. I am your host, Lovely, and I discuss everything I enjoy with regard to heavy music. Can you believe that I have been doing this podcast for one whole ass year? It doesn't seem real, but in fact, this time last year, I decided, hey, I'm gonna do this. Wild, right? Let's look at the journey of this show so far. One day I just said, fuck it. I'm making a podcast about my favorite things about heavy music, and I surprisingly have stuck to that. I am somebody who is so easily discouraged if I don't get immediate massive reward for something, and it's taken me a lot of reminding that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, man, and nothing ever happens overnight. Things that are worth it take time to grow. You can kind of see it in how the quality of sound has evolved in this podcast. I mean, clearly in episode 1, it was... I can hardly listen to it. My recording quality was so bad. Plosives all over the place, disgusting sounding, mouth breathing in, and barely any sense of a concept of pace. I also learned very quickly that after episode 1 I needed a strict script from which to work off, and you can tell that I only had notes in episode 1 from how I hesitated to speak at times trying to find my next full sentence. So yeah, episode 2 and beyond, with a couple of exceptions, it's scripts from there on out. Little things, which turn out to be big things in the process, really help the sound and style of the show. Things like mic placement, like writing a script, like typing the script instead of writing it by hand, like learning how to correctly use the noise reduction function in Audacity, really make a difference. Part of me wishes that I could have just had, baseline okay quality in the beginning, but at the same time, you just gotta do the damn thing and learn what you need to know along the way. I don't know everything, I'm never going to, but, I will work towards what will be the most valuable to me in the long run. Aside from sound quality, subject matter is kind of tied into the planning of the show. Before, I would just be working on the show on a week-by-week basis, figuring out what the hell to talk about for the next episode, typing up a full script by a certain point in this week, and recording, editing, and uploading the damn thing, rinse and repeat. I've gotten better at planning out my shit. If you ever want to make your own podcast or pursue a creative endeavor or just anything really, planning is really valuable. Coming up with ideas and laying out a timeline for how you want it to manifest, and it won't always go according to plan, trust me on that, but it helps you give a guide, give you a sense of where you want to be, and if I ever get a rad idea but don't have time to plan it out, or if I'm not ready for it, or, if I just don't have energy for it, then I just throw it on a sticky note and come back to it later. Well, I'm not an expert in planning, really. I'm notorious for doing what was supposed to be a semester-long project the night before it's due, but I took up bullet journaling, and it's been massively helpful in keeping myself on track in making this podcast and being what they call somewhat of a functional adult. It's also been helpful in my depression because, it gives me a sense of purpose for each day, and now I don't feel as bad when I need to take time for myself. So, as far as the subject matter goes, I'm not struggling to find a topic each week. I have a good timeline now, which is great news in the long run. Plus, I have some recurring segments, as they were, the metal news and the band binges, which I really need to find a better word for that. I really don't like how that word sounds. I think one of the greatest things that has changed, and that I'm still working towards, is the fact that I've been bringing on guests. Well, at the time that you're listening to this episode, only one guest will have been in my catalog of episodes so far, my friend Tino, when he did the Iron Maiden track by track with me. But just know, there's gonna be more. I'm not counting that time that I uploaded an old interview with Explore yesterday when I was trying to write for all of the month of November, because that was for a different show and a different time before the podcast, and I conveniently had the audio file. So, yeah, main takeaway is that I'm bringing more guests onto the show, so look forward to that. What else can I say? Well, as far as further improvements on the show, number 1, I want to / really need to upgrade my audio recording setup. I love my blue snowball microphone, I really do, but I would really like to use something more professional grade if I want to take this podcast seriously, and I do. Apart from upgrading the mic, I would also need to get a preamp or two so that I'm spending less time in the editing part of the process. The better the setup and settings that I have, the better off that I and also you on the listening end will be. It's gonna take longer though because money is a factor. I also need to get this damn thing onto iTunes officially. What has been stopping me is lack of an RSS feed. What I need to get an RSS feed is to find a suitable host site so that I can get that onto iTunes. I would also need money for that also, as these sites always require a monthly fee or something for the kind of amount, and the amount of data that I want to upload. Because it fluctuates all the time. I don't have a consistent time span for each episode, which I might have to work on in the future, but I'm really not caring about right now. So it's hard to budget that, particularly for something with data limits. So yeah. Aside from that, I just need to spread my brand. Figure out how to get people interested in the show and maybe actually, talk to people. Which is a difficult thing for me because I'm always nervous all the time talking to strangers, which seems funny considering that I basically do the same exact thing with this podcast, but the difference is that if I say something stupid here, then I can just edit it out, and you will never know what I said. So yeah. And speaking of, I also in the future want to have somebody else editing this for me, but, that's, again, something that I have to farther future goals because I don't have the money to pay somebody for editing, which, I would want to fairly compensate somebody for the labor of having to deal with my gross mouth breathing in noises. Ugh. So yeah, that's another thing I'm working towards. I don't want to make somebody do this for free, unless there was something else that I could offer that would be worth their time, but money is probably the thing. So yeah. And that's basically my whole thing right now. Thank you to everybody who has stuck with me in this past year. Thank you to those of you who are just getting started in this journey with me. I appreciate your support. It means so much to me. Here's to another year and the adventures or misadventures that could bring. If you enjoy the show and haven't done so already, please follow me on social media. On Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, Instagram, and Mixcloud, I am LovelyMetalhead. Engage with me on those platforms and bring a friend or two along so that I can, have fun with all of you in this party. If you don't use social media that much but still want to reach out to me, you can send feedback or questions to the show at lthfeedback@protonmail.com. Put Lovely Talks Heavy comment in the subject line and I will read your email on the show and respond. We'll have a conversation. If you want to take your support of the show a step further, I have a Ko-fi page that is ko-fi.com/LovelyMetalhead. Drop a few or more dollars in there if you are able. I would absolutely appreciate it. It would help me get a little bit closer to an upgraded audio setup. However, if you're unable to donate, that's perfectly fine. I understand. Just share the show, spread the word. That in itself is super helpful, and that itself is appreciated. Okay, everybody. What a wild year it has been. There have been some bumps along the way, but it's been a whole ass year. We did the damn thing. And until next week, next Saturday, the next episode of Lovely Talks Heavy, you stay brutal, my friends. Goodbye.